in Saudi Arabia, the families there, maybe about 10, 20,000.
Do you know, Abdul, I don't mean this tritely, but, you know, you do have an obsession. You do have an obsession with the dark side of life, don't you?
No, myself, right, as I said, well, define what you're saying there, please, and if you allow me to the talk.
Well, I suppose...
Is Islam the dark side? Is that what you mean? Is that the connotation you tried to bring here?
No, not at all. I'm not talking to you about your religion. I mean, that's entirely up to you. That's your decision.
I've spoken to you for 10 minutes. I've spoken to you for 10 minutes. I don't know if you've ever heard me on the radio before, but to come with a statement like that, please justify it.
Well, you see, I'm trying to... You asked me a question, and you won't let me answer.
On you go. Sorry, my friend, sorry.
That's all right. It just seems to me that you're looking at the negative all the time.
Because there's so much negative in the world for myself. I'm a radical pacifist. I will only defend myself if you come at me with a knife, a sword, a gun, or whatever method. I will... Is it the right of self-defence for every human being. I will not attack anyone. But when neither should you, David. I've got to take a pause right now, but thanks for the contribution. Many thanks also for the emails. It's just a little bunch of stuff here. To use the hard shoulder. Oh, we were talking about that, weren't we? We were talking about the hard shoulder. In the event of a traffic jam on a motorway, they'll open up the hard shoulder and we can drive up that. And I asked the question, this is okay until somebody breaks down, and then what are we going to do? And how do the ambulances get up? How do the emergency vehicles to restart your car or repair or change a tyre? How does all that happen without the hard shoulder? Apparently it's no need to worry. It'll all be all right on the night. Armed with this information, Trevor from Hackney said to use the hard shoulder is a ridiculous idea. I could meet the idiots who think these things up. At peak times, the 3 lanes on a motorway get choked up. Using the hard shoulder would choke the lane up too. So how would the emergency services reach Crackney? I think QED, yeah. Little response here from J. Nicholson. Osama bin Laden did obey the attack on the... Oh, sorry, this is written terribly small, isn't it? There's something wrong with the printer. Did Osama bin Laden... He did deny, claims J. Nicholson, the attack on the Twin Towers on December 27, 2001. A tape was aired with the real bin Laden denying the attacks were his doing. It was well publicised in the net in many legitimate news articles. And it goes on to say it was also well known that the video of bin Laden on November 9, 2001 showing him admitting it was proven to be an obvious fake. The only people who disagree are the US government. Right, as long as we got that sorted. 08704 20 20 20. That'll be the number. I'm Mike Allen. This is talkSPORT. Great email came in. John Hoyt did, and he said, just read that. And it says, Mike, any chance of taking calls on spiders and the abnormal size they've grown to this year? I've evicted 5 giants in my home in the last month alone. This is from Mike, who's in Essex. Thanks, Mike. So John said to me, it's funny you should say that. I've experienced it myself. Really? Spiders? Is it the year for big spiders? Is it true that if you get 2 together, you can use them to get through London and not pay a charge for traffic congestion? Huge, great. Is it true this year? I must admit I haven't noticed, but I have. One thing I have noticed in North London: huge amount of moths. Incredible. I thought someone's been in Ian Collins' wallet, but no, it wasn't that at all. It was something completely different. Eden's in London. Hi, Eden. Just let me get you up on the air here. My fingers with this screen. I can't begin to tell you. Come on. That's it. Gotcha. Hello, Eden.
Hey there, Mike. How you doing?
Well, I'm having trouble with this screen. I think it's not reacting to my fingers, you know?
Yeah.
It's touch screen.
You haven't got the magic touch that...
Oh, I haven't got something. I haven't got the rubber gloves on. There's something missing. What can I talk to you about?
Well,
9/11?
It is 9/11, but... See, the thing is that when time goes by, people are a bit more... are willing to be a bit more honest. With everything, like, the cracks appear in time, and nobody wanted to say anything about conspiracy theory years ago because... you had that soundbite from Bush saying you're either with us or against us, and that's kind of like a totalitarian mind control thing. People are too scared to say anything.
Well, also, I think, I'm talking about Britain, I'm not talking about the rest of the world, or in particular America. I think there was a feeling of, there was such a huge amount of grief.
Absolutely, and not
that it was considered impolite to talk about it.
Yeah, I haven't seen something on that scale since Princess Diana died. Now, the thing is, before I go any further, when people say, would the American government do it? Well, Afghanistan has got 800 billion barrels of oil underneath it with an estimated street value of $5 trillion. That's a lot of money. I think they'd sell out for a lot less than that, personally. Now, the second thing is that I'm pretty sick of all at the moment, the whole thing about, Saddam Hussein was a bad man, he was a bad man, he killed his own people. And this is said by these reactionary right-wingers who suddenly feel they've got a platform to act the moral majority on. Now, these are the same people that, on the one hand, are saying, these poor Muslims, these poor oppressed Muslims, he was killing these Muslims. Then, on the other hand, they're demonizing Muslims. So you can't get away from it. Islam is being slagged off by everyone at the moment. Oh, these evil men.
It's not being slagged off on this program.
Oh, no, not on this program. But in general, there's such a feeling of dissent and disgust, and there's such hostility. So it seems bizarre that people on the one hand are saying, "Oh, these really poor oppressed Muslims," then on the other hand, they're slagging them off, and it kind of gives people the platform to have their opinion on Islam, or Muslims in general, without the fear of being called a racist. So it's kind of like a backhanded compliment at the moment. Now, when people say, the weapons of mass destruction, that soundbite really does piss me off, because it's just a collective soundbite that gets a gasp out of an audience and says, oh, WMDs. Look, if you give a guy 50 guns, he could do a lot of damage. And to me...
Yes, but even, somebody sat down and worked long and hard to come up with the expression weapons of mass destruction, because it sounds awesome, it sounds threatening, it's almost end of sanity.
I guess it is, but only if you're easily impressed with sound bites. You swallow the sound bite.
Don't. I mean, sound bites are clever. Not all clever, but as a concept, it's a clever thing, because you can encapsulate a moment in just 2, 3, 4 words or something.
Okay.
So we're all vulnerable to that. We've been raised in a soundbite society. And when did that start? Probably about 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay. So people who are 20, 25 have not enjoyed existence without sound bites.
I guess being 34, I can be a little bit more cynical on these things.
I wouldn't believe that from you.
The other thing about this whole weapons of mass destruction, and they didn't find anything, I was thinking, Christ, if you really want to find out what he's got, why don't you just check your VAT invoices and your tax receipts, because you sold them the weapons in the first place.
No, that's just making it too easy.
Well,
I tell you what, I don't mean this to be frivolous, but I just have to preface what I'm going to say. We know that America has a huge amount of surveillance equipment in the sky, spies in the sky and things like that, and they can read number plate. They've also got facial recognition from miles up. How did they not know there were no weapons of mass destruction? They'd have been monitoring it for months.
Exactly. And
they could tell you what time one guy got up, had breakfast, and drove out of his home.
Well, it's the same thing in Afghanistan. How is it that they were missing, because it was a convoy of weapons, and the news reports, well, actually, no, it's a wedding party, or it was just children or whatever. It's like, oh, well, it's collateral damage. Now, when a big number of people died in 9/11, I'm not going to say anything nasty about it, because I couldn't get in touch with my sister for like 9 hours, and I thought the worst had happened there. A friend of mine died in the tower, so it did hit home. But the thing is, it was played out. The whole thing was played out for everyone to see, and it couldn't have been staged better. And just one thing on the Pentagon, they said that the guy who flew into the Pentagon was a crap pilot. I mean, this is what his own trainer said. And the strange thing is, for someone who's so rubbish at flying a plane, he certainly did manage to keep it off the ground just right, so that he didn't leave a single mark on the grass, nowhere on the lawn, and managed to puncture a nice, neat hole into it. It's kind of Mickey Mouse.
It's very interesting you say this, because the whole concept of what we've been talking about this evening is, it's not that what you saw wasn't true, it's just not necessarily what you think it was.
Yeah.
And getting someone to listen to that and not to get terribly emotional and say, oh, no, but I saw it,
Exactly. Can I just add one more thing to this? And this is, other than the fact that they said that they found a car in Boston Airport, and it had a copy of the Quran in it, it had their will and last testament, whatever, and a book, How to Fly Planes, kind of Mickey Mouse, but the will was along the lines of, I'd like to be buried here, I'd like blah, blah, blah. If these people knew that they were going to be incinerated, how the hell are they planning their funerals? There's going to be nothing left. And on the case of one of the planes that hit the tower, They said, oh, we know that this guy was on that plane because his passport was found a few blocks away. What? So it managed to survive the fire, got out of the plane, managed to find its way through the building, the South Tower, flew out of the window and landed perfectly intact. Give me a break. If you saw this in a film, on a Hollywood film, it would lose the most money ever. People would think, Christ, we paid a ticket for this crap.
It wouldn't get anyway. Wouldn't get past the first screening.
There you go.
I can't think of an agent, a literary agent, who would just stand up holding that one, saying, "What about this one, boys?" I think no, they did.
It was fair. I think if you want to hide something, you hide it in plain sight. The last place people are going to look, it's in plain sight. It's right under their nose. All the clues are there. No jets were scrambled to intercept the plane that was going towards the Pentagon. Now, when Payne Stewart's jetliner, remember the golfer, and I think there was
I've only got about 15 seconds, so keep it short.
Right. No jets were scrambled. The most protected airspace in the world, nothing was intercepted.
I seem to recall reading that there were two or four planes on routine flights up the East Coast seaboard, not far from New York. But I mean, that's information from that time. And like any others, as you pointed out tonight, and good call, thanks very much, Eden, it could easily be corrupt. So, give us a call. It's 08704 2020. It's Mike Allen for Ian Collins and Chessie. And this is talkSPORT. In China, it's considered very auspicious to have lots of guests at the funeral. But there was one bunch of funeral brokers who realised that the regular numbers were falling down, so they seriously considered and then went ahead with an initiative to attach guests. They said, we'll have 2 strippers, and they did. Have you ever been to the funeral from hell? Give me a call. Tell me all about it.
On 1089 and 1053 AM.
We didn't falsify and we didn't invent.
Around the world.
There is only one real peace.
Around the clock. Order! From the Sky News Centre. talkSPORT on the Hour News.
The top stories from the Sky News Centre at 3.
On 1089 and 1053 AM. talkSPORT.
Mike Allen for Ian Collins and Chessie. As you know, they're having about a week or so off, so they asked me to come in and look after things. It's, whatever you do, don't trip over the mat. And I just did. What's he doing there anyway? Had an email from an airline pilot, a guy called Chris. He said, Mike, if no plane, he's talking about 9/11 here, hit the Pentagon, where is that missing plane? Passengers and crew now. Maybe you've got some thoughts on that. 9/11 as the 5th anniversary, a huge amount of coverage, and even now on the news services, it's seemingly dominating everyone's attention. But it's extraordinary that we've had experts on. I think James Whale had 2 guys who've written a book, and I had a guy who wrote a book, and it seems extraordinary that we might have stumbled on something in the last conversation we were having on the programme with Eden. And we were talking about not wishing to be insensitive by talking about some sort of conspiracy theory until a couple of years ago. Now, I'm sure people will say, well, how ridiculous, because it's any creative thinking. Was that really what happened? Was it really that we were concerned not to be raking over information that could have been proven to be upsetting and deeply disturbing to people who'd lost someone or knew of someone who'd lost someone in the Twin Towers? But now looking at it, fresh eyes, is it not also a sign of a society that's really questioning the validity of those leading us? Because they must have known what was going on, surely had a clue. Otherwise there's the biggest confusion on backdoor deals of all time. I'd like to know what your thoughts are on that. And someone who sent me an email suggested, does anyone know exactly why we've got so many big spiders? There's got to be someone who knows about spiders. Because one thing that happens in the UK is that people know about stuff. They collect things. They're almost world authorities on it. Victorian fishing rods, for example. No, really? Yeah. You'd be surprised. So do pick up the phone, do give us a call. It's 0870 4 20 20 20. Or you can text on 81089 or email talksport.net. But I'd love to talk to you. 0870 4 20 20 20. That's that. We talked about peak travelling times, but here's another little peak, and I've not mentioned this until today. With property prices rising like one of Mother's cakes, the thinking of commuting has been streamlined with the Channel Tunnel. Yeah. It now seems there are daily commutes from France to London for Brits who just can't afford the house they want at a price they can afford in the UK. But if they go to the west coast of France, they can find something there that they can afford to live in and just find the fare to take them into London or to the UK, doesn't necessarily have to be London, to carry out their job. Isn't that now, can you see yourself doing that? Would you want to spend that much time on a train? We mentioned earlier on something about train transport, and a caller at the time said, well, you know, we've still got this wrong leaves on the line syndrome when it comes to transportation. Well, not with the French service, you know. No, those French trains don't have a problem with leaves. I think, what is it they do when they make those trains that render them impervious to random leaves? Maybe I'll have a number right. 0870 4 20 20 20. 0870 4 20 20 20. Or text 81089. We'll possibly be talking to Adam from Harrow in just a minute, and no doubt you'll have something to say on that one. I was very fizzed up on that business of living in France and actually working in the UK. I can remember when computers became sort of back pocket money. And have you noticed there's always been a model about 300 quid? Have you noticed that there's always been a model about 900 quid? It's extraordinary, isn't it? And you get so much for a 300 quid computer. You get little speakers, and you get stuff, and you get a big box, and you get a flat screen, and it's extraordinary, isn't it? Because to get that sort of aspirational equipment, you would be hard-pressed to have anything like it for anything less than £2,500 about 10 years ago. Let's talk to Adam, who's in Harrow. Go on screen, work for me. I'm going to thank you so much. Hello, Adam. You're on talkSPORT. Johnny? I have to talk to John here. Adam, hello. No, it's not having it. Okay. We'll have to leave that in place until the good news comes filtering through, because John's got his head down doing a bit of hard work at the minute. English wine apparently has been sparkling. Oh, who dreamt that headline? But apparently, because of the weather, global warming has its detractors, but according to this report, the English winemakers won't have a word said against it. Right, okay. I'm doing my absolute best to get this screen to work. I don't know, I'm going to go outside and come in with some thinly sliced cucumber and give it a very severe whack with it, because I'm quietly confident that that's what's wrong with it. Hello, Barry.
Hi, Mike.
There we are.
You were querying just now why British trains have problems with leaves on the line, but the French trains don't.
Yes.
Well, I thought everybody knew the reason. It's a sort of well-known fact.
No, not here.
Oh, well, the French gauge is wider, so there's more room for the leaves to fall between them, hence they don't fall on the lines.
I'm starting to feel I'm going to be glad you called.
It's my version of a conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
We invented it, so the conspiracy was we get the leaf problem, the French would follow, make it a bit wider, and they wouldn't have the problem. So it's another conspiracy theory to join all these other ones you've had tonight. Yes,
it's absolutely time for that, actually. We've run the gauntlet of responses from deeply serious to slightly out of touch. I've got a great story here. This is absolutely true. The undertakers in China, in one of the provinces in China, where it's considered very auspicious to have lots of people at your funeral, lots of mourners, the numbers were dropping. So they thought, well, I have to dream up something that will attract more people. So this is absolutely true. They booked a couple of strippers.
Arousing the dead, eh?
Well, I don't know. I don't know if they had their spectacles with them, but... But, you know, it's a sort of wedding from hell. It's almost sort of John Cleese, isn't it, really? It's right up there with Don't Mention the War. I did, but I think I got away with it.
Well, on a serious point, I suppose it depends on the view you take of death. If death is something to be celebrated because you're going on to a better place or whatever, and I mean, I know nothing about sort of Chinese beliefs, but if that was it, then why not a stripper to celebrate it, you know?
Yes. Well, I had 2 strippers, and apparently a fight broke out. This is true. It was in the Telegraph about 3-4 weeks ago. A fight broke out between 2 groups. It was alleged to be sparked over the strippers. Apparently, one didn't like what somebody else was saying about one of the girls who was stripping. But can you imagine getting the call to go? I know it's a little bit like the Full Monty, and not that you would ever do it, Barry, but suddenly somebody calls and said, I've got a gig for you. It's a wedding next Wednesday, 3 o'clock. Wear black.
Well, I suppose again on a serious note, people do some strange and desperate things to get money, don't they? So
they do.
Why be surprised at that in a way?
So you're driving at present, are you?
I'm on my way to Cardiff.
With a load or in a car?
In a car.
Right.
Now, can I just go back to one serious point about all this stuff about 9/11 and conspiracy theory?
Yeah.
The thing that confuses me is I'm prepared to give it a tad of time and belief because there's some plausibility about it. But the thing that really does confuse me is if it was a conspiracy theory, why doesn't someone like John Pilger come in and do one of his famous exposés? Because, you know, if anybody's got an interest in exposing sort of wicked America and all the rest of it and the wicked West, I mean, he's got a track record of that. And I would have thought that someone like him or journalists like that, you know, a really serious, respected journalist would have got interested in it before now, and that's a mystery to me as why someone like that hasn't. And to an extent, it makes me think that conspiracy theory isn't actually very credible.
Yes, an interesting question is why hasn't John Pilger done something about it? It's very interesting. One has to be very careful as to how far we take this because there could be lawyers listening or listening to the tape of it all afterwards and take us to a place we didn't want to be.
Yeah.
Because I think that question's too loaded for us to discuss. But
okay.
I think I'm not saying it's not a good question. I'm just saying I think it's
not one that you can entertain at the moment.
No, maybe in another 5 years, it'll all change because even looking just at John Pilger's views, he's from the left of centre, isn't he? And the Bush administration is on the right of centre.
Well,
that's been about as kind as you can take it.
Yeah, that was my drift, I guess. That is what puzzles me. But there we go. Anyway, it was. I'm glad you didn't get too upset at my my serious explanation of Leaves on the Line.
I loved it. I think it's terrific. And
there we go.
And having travelled that stretch of line, have you been down to Kent on the French train?
No, not yet. Not yet. It's a trip that I'm looking forward to one day.
They've really done a fabulous job, and it came in on time.
Really?
Yeah, it came in on time, and it was a French company that did it.
Mm.
I think they employed British workers, but I think it was French managed the whole deal, and they've done a really good job.
I had the pleasure of working in Korea for a few months, about 5 years ago, I think it was, and
South Korea.
South Korea, yeah, and the trains and the underground run to the minute, and the trains stop exactly between certain lines so that the doors open exactly where you're standing. You know, you stand on the underground platform, and the doors come exactly to where you're standing.
Like the Jubilee line.
Yeah. And you go in the middle, and the people go out at the sides. So there's two streams coming off and one stream going on through the middle.
Why didn't we think of that?
Well, there you go.
We're a nation born to queue. It's true.
Yeah.
If there's not a queue, we're not having a good time.
It's because we invented things first, Mike.
Yeah, I think
that's the big conspiracy theory. Don't invent things first, because you learn from other people's mistakes and you get it right second time.
Yeah, that's right. The new improved version.
Absolutely.
Barry, it's a pleasure. Give us a call tomorrow if you can.
Yeah,
Okay.
cheers.
Take
Bye.
care. Bye-bye. talkSPORT, it's Mike Allen in for Ian Collins, and if you'd like to be on the programme, it'd be great to have you. We're going to be talking to Adam in just a minute. It's 0870 4 20 20 20, or text 81089, or email talksport.net. I would like to talk to someone who might have tried some English wine in recent times. Apparently, we got through, it's worth £16 million a year, the British wine market. I'm not talking about all, I'm just talking about wine which has been made from grapes grown in this country. That's the thing, isn't it? 16 million. Can you drink it and wake up without a headache? Hello, Adam, you're on talkSPORT.
Mike, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Hi. What's quite frustrating about some of this conspiracy theory stuff is occasionally these guys come up with something that you think, aha, that can be scientifically, empirically either proven or disproven. And James Whale's guests did that tonight because they were talking about the buildings coming straight down, and they were saying that is not possible with the amount of fire that those planes caused. And also the building number 7 next to them, which also came down.
Mm-hmm.
And they were saying, no, that can't happen. And I'm thinking to myself, now I'm a surveyor, and I know one thing about buildings. I'm not a structural engineer, but I'm a chartered surveyor, and I do know that with a building, you have a loading, and you have an answer. In other words, it's not really sort of, is it grey or is it white? It's black and white. Either it comes down or it doesn't come down. Either the steelwork they used will come down like that under intense heat, or it won't. And if it doesn't, then we can start asking the other questions. So I just find it frustrating that they don't bring on a structural engineer who knows about skyscrapers and the building of them, who's done them himself, to actually offer a view on that. Because to me, that's a black and white situation.
It was a conspiracy theory. We didn't do it because we wanted you to call up.
Ah, well, it could well be. It could well be, but everyone's gone to bed now, so it's all wasted. But that's what I find frustrating about it, because, I mean, sometimes, you know, with conspiracy theories, you can home in on some scientific stuff, and that, to me, is a scientific issue. Either it can or it can't.
I would have thought, I mean, I've got some vague memory from the time when people were talking about it, not necessarily this particular aspect, but they made the point that it was designed to collapse that way in the construction when they put it together.
Yes, because otherwise, if it collapses one way or the other, you're wiping out a fair bit of Manhattan.
Yes.
So I can believe that, but of course they're coming on and saying, no, it can't happen. There's no way. You've got all these pillars, you've got hundreds of them, and you have to blow them out. You have to blow dozens of them out in very specific points to get it to collapse like a pack of cards like that. Now maybe they're right and maybe they're wrong, but that's the essence of their argument. So, hey guys, there must be structure.